Hey, Jeff, thanks for joining me.
Hey, Steve, thanks for having me
Good to
again.
have you. Interesting story here. This comes from reports from Deloitte, studies by them. They divide the U.S. market into four different retail groups um, and took a look at some trends driving there. First group was most of the largest markets. Those are New York, LA, Chicago, Houston, Miami. Those markets experienced below average retail trips, but above average share of online spending. The second group was other markets that are among the top 50 metro statistical areas. This includes Boston, Detroit, Pittsburgh, Columbus, Ohio. They're below average on both parameters. They're seeing less online, less people visiting. Third, this was below the top 50 MSAs. Some of the smaller markets, such as the Research Triangle, North Carolina, some of the smaller cities in California, like Bakersfield and Stockton, they were above average in both aspects. Those particular markets were seeing more real visits, more online. And then finally, the fourth and final group were markets like Honolulu, Hawaii, Erie, Pennsylvania, Columbus, Georgia. They saw above average growth in retail trips, but below average share of online spending. Hey, actually, a group where people are going out more and going online less. Um, but definitely saw distinct groups. They had some ideas about some different retail strategies for those groups. But some of your thoughts, Justin, how things are kind of trending kind of post-COVID in terms of people's retail buying habits across different metros and how that impacts how we kind of look at retail real estate.
Well, I think there's a couple things in there. The first one is Miami. Everybody, and ironically, even New York, New York being part of that group. But if you think about what those were, Lisbon used to be the at-home capital for code developers, et cetera. And now it's Miami, and it's, from what I understand, hands down far and above Lisbon, even in its heights. So it makes sense to why Miami had a bunch of online shopping. Some of the other ones, I think you when you start looking at the demographics, they're not, it's an older generation that still wants to touch and feel and see what something looks like because the internet hasn't caught up with a realistic approach, to what something feels. As an example, you go into Amazon, you can try on a pair of sunglasses that's kind of what sunglasses are, or the shoes are kind of what they look like, and they'll look like on your face, but it's not something that gets you real comfortable. But I think the real question is what does the evolution of retail real estate look like? Is it malls? Maybe it's some form. I think really where it goes is kind of simple. It's got to be modified from big, huge malls into almost a small village within a town. It's going to have retail mixed in with some sort of shared workspace mixed in with some sort of multifamily that causes people to want to be in a city center and have experience.
Yeah, I totally agree that one place we're definitely going is experiential. Um, because if all you want to do is buy something, and yeah, your comments are really great about the older generation, but the younger generations, the ones coming up, if they just want to buy something, they're going to click. For them to really drive traffic with them, you've got to offer them more than what they could just do online. And that could be an open air theater. That could be, really great pathways to be walking and doing window shopping and getting some good food and stuff. But I totally agree with you. You've got to go to more experiential.
Well, yeah,
At
it's data points. Theoretically, you're talking about how do I attract the most people, without spending a whole lot of money and the least amount of time. And you got to hit everything that's an experience for them, be it, shopping, a restaurant, everything a mall was, but you had to drive to a mall. Now people are going to want to go live in those areas. They're going to want parks right in those areas. They're going to want things that are going to make sense to their lifestyle.
Yeah, and I think we're also seeing that when we get asked about office to a degree, that one of the things we're seeing is multi-use, where it's not just office, where
Right.
there's some retail, there's some residential, there's some kind of going more to build having an experience, having convenience, but it really does seem like this old model of there's a traditional shopping mall that's just shops that you go to, that's dying. And maybe it's not dying as fast in some areas that have older demographics, but when you look at the places that are the kind of the trend centers, when we start looking at the New York, the LA, we do, Miami, we do see it driving more online if you're just shopping. But I think to your point is spot on that when people are going out more and more, they're looking for that experience that goes beyond just buying something, just picking up and buying it because they can do it online.
Yeah, I mean, it's a social experience. It's not just a, hey, I'm going to buy something. I mean, look, there is definitely a side where it's a need of I need to buy something, whatever that thing I need to buy is. But the truth of it is, like you're going out to potentially see people that to engage with the surroundings, with people, everything. It's a social experiment.
Yeah, so getting out and buying things isn't done, but it is changing. It needs to be more of an experience. And I think we're also seeing that while things may differ across metros, and some metros, that kind of traditional shopping experience is stronger than others. I think we're both in agreement, what the future looks like and where you want to be going as you're looking at what kind of properties to own, what kind of retail establishments are going to be poised to do well in this future.
Yeah.
Thanks for the comments, Jeff. Really appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Steve.